Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to the Jon Gaunt Show. Plenty to talk about today. Hope you're going to join in. It's Keir Starmer. He wants to send our boys, and I guess in these politically correct days, I've got to say our girls as well, to the Ukraine. And I quote, to be a peace-giving force or peacekeeping. What on earth does that mean? What if Russia were to invade again? What would happen in that scenario? It's ludicrous. They've been desperate to get a European army ever since Brexit. This is all part of the Brexit argument, ladies and gentlemen. And our best ally will always be the United States of America. We do not need to be in the United States of the European Union. That's why we left. But they want it to be now, they've even said it openly, a European army. Well, I don't know about you. That's not what I want. I want your views. There's so much to talk about and get in here because also, how can Starmer talk about protecting Ukraine's borders when he can't even protect our own? Don't believe me? Look what happened in Birmingham over the weekend at the Heartlands Hospital. This country is a joke under Starmer. It was an absolute joke under the Tories as well, but it certainly, things have not got better. And now he wants to send your children, your grandchildren to Ukraine. He says, oh no, they're not going to fight. They're there for peacekeeping if we get a deal. So the European leaders are all in Gay Paris this afternoon, discussing what they can do all together. Although Poland's already said, and congratulations to them, they won't be sending any troops at all. Meanwhile, while the real brokers of peace or war in all of this are in Washington, D.C., or in Saudi Arabia, as it happens, where America are talking to Russia. I don't see what I do know what the problem is here. The European leaders have thrown their toys out of the pram because, quite simply, Trump's going over their head. When Vance made that speech last week and basically said, you should look after your own backyard, you Europeans, you're being taken over, they didn't like it. And the BBC and every other mainstream media outlet has been trying to twist this, that this is him attacking us and saying he doesn't want to be part of us. No, it's him, Vance, telling us some home truths. I agree with him. And I would rather be closer to the United States than Europe. And I'm going to go even further. I do not believe the Russians eat our babies or their babies. And I do not believe that the majority of Russians want to be at war with us. It's time for jaw, not war. You're listening to the Jon Gaunt podcast. If you're watching live on YouTube, Facebook, or wherever else, feel free to put your comments up. If you're listening on repeat or watching on repeat or listening on a podcast, you can still join in. I don't think Russia wants war. That's not me justifying what Putin did. What Putin did in the Ukraine was wrong, and in the Crimea. But it's done now. So now we need peace. And do you know what's really interesting? Months and months ago, I said the way to sort this is that Trump will come in. He'll say to Putin, you can keep what you've got already, but not a single square meter more. And he'll say to Zelensky, if you want to be in NATO or if you want to be protected by NATO, you've got to now agree to a ceasefire, an end to the war. How many more thousands of Ukrainian men do you want killed? And I'll tell you one thing. I don't want one blooming British guy or girl killed on the soils of Ukraine. It's time for jaw, not war. Donald Trump has done more in 2 weeks than Biden did in 3.5 years. If the Europeans were so clever, and if Biden was such a Democrat and so kind, why didn't he get the sides together? Why has it taken Trump, who they think is the devil? He's evil personified. Oh, really? Well, he's got him round the table. Looks like he's going to do the same in Israel with Hamas and Gaza. Did you notice the hostages came out again? Sometimes you need a bit of tough love to get what you want. And the Europeans bitching. The BBC have been a disgrace. Every time they say Trump, they never call him Donald Trump or the president or Mr. President. It's Trump. And you can hear the venom, the spit, the hatred they've got. They've got a visceral hatred for Trump. Trump tomorrow could find a cure for cancer. He could walk on water. He could solve the world's poverty problems. They would still hate him and call him things like, oh, he's a rapist. He's this, he's that. He's done more in 2 weeks for world peace than Biden did in 3 and a bit years. And please, never, ever, ever forget, there were no wars, no major conflict started when Trump was in power last time. He's a deal maker. He wants a deal, and he's getting a deal now. And I'm coming to you. There's loads of people trying to comment. I'm coming to you in a moment. But finally, I want to say this. Zelensky, can we stop painting him as if he's a bloody angel? Because he isn't. He's an angel with a dirty face. Look at his record. He closed down the media, the opposition media to him. Yes, he's fighting for his people, and it must hurt him. But do you know what, Zelensky? You've lost. So why don't you now shut up? And you see him moaning the other day. Oh, no, I'm not going to go to the table. Unless they invite me, I'm not coming to the table. I'm not coming to the table. He'll be doing a dying bloody fly next. He's a moron, right? He is. I've gone a bit farther, but he is out of order. And why should Trump invite the EU and Ukraine at this stage? He wants to get the parameters of the deal sorted out. If I was Ukraine and I'd lost tens of thousands of young men, if I was Zelensky, I'd be thinking, well, at least there's a way forward. I don't particularly like Trump, but I'm going to go with this. And that's kind of what J.D. Vance was getting at last week. And finally, and here, and I am going to come to your points now, because now we're going to have the discussion. Just let me ask you this question. Where are we going to get the troops from? We haven't got enough troops now to fill Wembley Stadium. Think about that. Less than 100,000 servicemen and women. Where are you going to get them from? I was seeing some analysis of this on GB News. They reckon it's 10,000 you need to go if they're going to be peacekeepers, but you need 10,000 then who are following behind and 10,000 resting, because they do like a 3 cycle, don't they? So you need 30,000 people. Where are we going to get them from? Who's going to pay for it? Zelensky's already demanding loads more money. No, you've had enough. You've lost. Shut up, get in your box, and allow Donald Trump to sort out the problem. And also, NATO, EU, why do you think a lot of this kicked off with Russia? Because of the expansion of both, and the dreams of both the EU and NATO to expand eastwards. Of course, if you poke the bear will respond. And if we put troops in there, imagine if there was another incursion and our troops, are they meant to just stand by and put a flower in the end of the rifles? No, they'll get involved in the fighting. And before you know it, the body bags will be coming back to Bryce Norton. You know this is right. It's jaw, not war that I'm calling for. That's not appeasement. It's plain common sense. Right, let's see what you're saying. Absolute disgrace. Let the EU sort out their own failures first. And just where is this EU army, Gaunty? And why didn't Ukraine build its own army prior to Putin's invasion? I hope you had a great weekend, John, says Bet on the Day. I've had a terrible weekend. I've got one of my closest friends is extremely poorly in hospital. I had to go and see him again yesterday. We're hoping and praying he'll pull through. He's a great bloke. What I mean by a great bloke is this guy does so much work for charity. He's a wonderful family man. He's a year younger than me, and he doesn't deserve he's going through at the moment. So I've had a terrible weekend. Not as terrible as him, but I've had a terrible weekend. And my thoughts are with his family, who I love and adore as well. Darren Cummings, afternoon, Gaunty. Thank you. Mick here says Bet on the Day. Well, okay, just join in. You don't have to tell me you're there. Bert, one of my oldest fans, afternoon, Gaunty. Are you going to actually make any comments, you lot? Or are you just going to say hello? You can do that on the Mike Graham show, can't you? with me, I want some comments. Jake Morton Brown, afternoon, John. I think Russia will keep trying their luck until they meet a firm resistance. Enter Trump. Well, yes and no. You see, I actually don't think Russia wants to take over the world. Putin is not a nice fella. He's not. Right? We all know that. But I've been to Russia quite a few times. I've met Russian people. They're fantastic people. And of course, they helped us win the Second World War. Don't forget here, it's this expansion of NATO. Now I'll be called a Putin apologist. I can hear it now. The uber liberals will be slagging me off. Well, I'm not. I did work for Russian state media, if you want to call that. I've been on RT quite a lot. I've also worked for Sputnik. I wrote for them and I did podcasts for them. They never, ever told me what to do. It was bizarre. It was the same as working for the Sun. Oh, you work for Murdoch. Murdoch tells you what to say. It's all rubbish. You work for the BBC. You're definitely told what to say. So I will not take any BS about propaganda when we have to listen to the BBC polluting our living rooms every single day with their absolute BS woke BABC nonsense, if you follow where I'm coming from. Peter, Captain Keir. Yeah, that's right. Captain Kremen reminds me of that character. Darren Cummings, Starmer wants to release the sausages. Yeah, very funny. I tell you what he does want to do. He wants to put our children in harm's way. Well, here's my simple question, Keir. Let's have the big example, big boy. You're pampered. Well, I don't know if he's pampered. Well, he stayed in a multi-millionaire's flat, Lord Ali's flat, to do his revision because I didn't like a bit of noise. So get that pampered so-and-so in the army, Keir. Get him in the army. Let your son lead by example. Yeah? Fat chance. Just like Blair's kids. They didn't go to Iraq. They didn't go to Afghan. No, they stayed here. Who did go? Ordinary working class blokes, white, a lot of them, and black and Asian. But those people who normally the snobby left-wing woke brigade look down their noses at. Well, I tell you what, you might look down your noses, but I'd rather have those people on the front line, those people who sometimes cause a bit of a ruck in Aldershot after a curry and a few beers. They're proper lads. They support our country. And then you have people saying, oh, don't like the flag of St. George. When the football's on, it's racist. Shut up! Sorry, I'm losing it. I didn't mean to lose it. I do apologise. I tell you, I've had a terrible weekend. Don't take me on today. We did the hokey cokey for 3 years with Ukraine, says Bet on the Day. You're right. We were never fully prepared to go all the way. No, if we'd wanted to take on Russia, it should have happened at the beginning. I kind of got sympathy for that. We should have either closed the skies or allow Putin to take over. Indecision is worse than a wrong decision. Now, you're talking about the Tories here. Weak leadership, says Mick in Yorkshire. Mick, brilliant points. Brilliant points. We could have put the air defences in there. We could have done. And that would have made Putin think again. Like I say, I don't agree with what Putin's done. But he's got a lot of support in Russia because a lot of Russians believe Ukraine is Russia, whether you like it or not. And a lot of people in Ukraine speak Russian as their first language. It's complicated, right? And if you were living, say, in Bristol, would you want Wales, if they were a totally independent country, to suddenly start having nuclear weapons right next to you? No, you probably wouldn't, would you? That's the kind of analogy. Think it through. Brilliant on the numbers. Brilliant on the numbers now. 145 people watching live at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Love it. I'm talking to Russia and Ukraine on the amateur radio bands, says Johnny Boy. What are they saying to you, mate? JD Vance gave one of the best speeches I've seen in years. Made the Eurocrats shuffle uncomfortably in their seats. And he was spot on. Cliff Dixon, true patriot, and he knows what he's talking about. You're right. It was a brilliant speech. I think if you know, you probably know Cliff because you've known me a long time. I've been a JD Vance fan for years, ever since I read his book. And then when I went across Route 66, we went down to where he was born, hillbilly country, where he's from. And you see what he was molded from, right? He is the white working class hero of America. The people who were left behind in the Rust Belts of America, which is why Trump won the first time. And when he becomes president, which he will do at the end of Trump's reign, I think he'll be brilliant. He's clever. He's intelligent. He's served in the army. He's working class. His mum was a smackhead. He knows. He knows about life. A real politician, unlike the pampered prima donnas we've got in Westminster who have never, ever experienced it, which is why they don't strengthen our border. How can we talk about protecting Ukraine? We can't even protect the channel. We can't even, it's just a farce. It's just a joke. And this weekend in Europe, I told you about Birmingham. There's also been the attacks in Germany. They're just, some of them are just taking the mickey. Are you with me or against me? Please spread the word about this podcast. Spread the word about my new TV channel, Jon Gaunt TV on YouTube. The more, the merrier. And if you can help me out, there's all the people who've helped me out so far. It's buymeacoffee.com. That's what you need to do if you want to help Gaunty with a donation. And I'm also making up a page on the website, which I've got going. I must admit, anybody got any views on websites? I think they're just so last century. They're just so stagnant. You bet. I don't know. I don't know whether I'm going to carry on paying for it, whether I should just use social media. You can help me out. Declan joins me. Declan Doherty. Totally, John. We need a man like Trump to make people pull their fingers out of their holes. Don't know if I got this right, but was it not the case that this war was to stop an invasion? And have I got this right now? He wants to go into Russia. No, Trump doesn't want to go into Russia. I don't know what you're on about there. Poland and Germany already said to Starmer, I like that, Starmer, no troops. Yeah, so we're going to end up sending all our troops, right? This is a man who won't even protect us. This is a man who calls us all far-right thugs. How ironic would it be, ladies and gentlemen, if the far-right white thugs said, up yours, Starmer. We ain't fighting no poxy wars for you. Now that would be amusing. Hey, John, how fit are the women in Russia compared to the UK? Says Tommy Tinkler on YouTube. I'll tell you one thing I did find when I went to Russia. All the women are gorgeous and most of the men look like pigs. Oh, dear, that'll start World War III. It's true. The women are gorgeous. Same in Poland. What's with the fellas? I've got some Polish mates, so I could probably get away. I've got a Russian mate, actually, Roman. He used to do my sound for me. He's been in touch recently. Roman, if you're watching, you're the exception. You're beautiful. I mean that in a very manly way. I tell you what, the Russians I met are great. They're great. They're great. I know Dougie Brumson, my friend, who writes about football hooliganism, his novels. He's had them all translated into Russian. He loves the Russians as well. The Russians do not eat our babies or their babies. They're just people like me and you. Jake Morton Brown, by Russia, I meant Putin. If we give him land, he'll just come back for more. Jake, you've been dropping the tablets again, mate. You've been popping the propaganda pills. Why would he do that? Especially if he's against Trump. And don't mix Russia with Putin. They're two different things. I'm not saying Putin's a wonderful man. I don't even think Trump is a wonderful man, right? Putin is a dictator, right? There's no two ways about that. But that doesn't mean Russia, the people, are our enemy. That's what they want you to believe. Because whilst you're thinking that, they're ripping you off left, right, and centre and sending your sons to their death. I'd like to address Starmer as heir Stalin. Thank you. Putin sticking up for persecuted Russians in Ukraine. Wish our government would stick up for us. Well, that's a very good point indeed, Phil. Lead from the rear, Keir. A new name for him, for two-tone. Two-tier Keir. Nice one. I care more about our own borders, says Laird. And Laird, I'm with you on that. No Westerner will understand truly what the story is when two Slavic nations are at war. I understand that as well. I don't understand it, but I understand the basic point you're making. Very, very complicated region. Correct. It's not our place to interfere. We looked after the Ukrainians. We gave them a home. Because you know what? We're a tolerant country. We're not a racist country. Look at the way we open our doors to them, the Ugandan Asians, the Hong Kong nationals. We've done that, and we will continue to do that to provide a safe haven for people. And we've helped them out. But we can't go on forever. The war has to end. Let's stop messing around. That's not appeasement. That's being absolutely practical. And if Starmer's so convinced, even though Germany and Poland aren't now, why isn't he sending his own son? Let's have his son. I don't even know his name. Let's have him on the front line, huh? Andy Isaac says, greetings from Slovakia. Thank you, my friend. We've got listeners all around the world. Trump's new press secretary is really good. She is. I know who you're talking about. JD Vance is a president in the making. Of course he is. I love the way he's always taken his family with him. Yeah, but he's been getting slagged off for that, hasn't he? Been getting slagged off. What's he got his family with him for? If it was a female leader, it would be, oh, that's great. Take your child to work. That's him showing he's a proper dad. He cares about his kids and his wife. What's wrong with that? Why? See, the problem is there's such hatred for Trump and therefore Vance, right? A lot of people don't like his views on abortion, for example. People just hate him completely, rather than seeing, like everybody, the shades of grey in him. And just whilst we're on the subject of what's his name, Starmer wanting to protect other countries, how come he can't get the time to keep hold of some of our territories? Oh, yes, the Chagas Isles. Why is he giving that away? And this story about the Attorney General guy putting the flag up, who are these people? And the Chinese woman who's been involved. It's our country. It's certainly not Mauritius's. Are you with me or against me? If you want to help me, don't forget, buy me a coffee, www.buymeacoffee.com/Jon Gaunt. Come on, I'm working my socks off here. Let's have some before the show ends. And that speech he made in Munich was brilliant, says Pom. Andrew Cottrell, we need more people like you, John. Well, yes, but spell my name correctly. There's no H in John. We have no freedom of speech anymore. We need a Trump-like leader in the UK. I agree with you. And I'll tell you something there, my friend, on that story. Who's that? It was Andrew on Facebook. He was attacking the way our freedom of speech is under attack. I mean, see the guy who burnt the Quran? He's been put on remand, but the guy who came raging out of his house with a knife and tried to stab him for daring to burn a book, right? He's on bail. How does that add up? He was trying to kill him, and then he kicked him in the head when he was on the floor. Huh? It's like Manchester Airport all over again, isn't it? Both of them should be on remand. Have I got that wrong? Or both of them on bail? I mean, I don't think you should burn the Quran anyway. It's a waste of a good box of matches. No, but honestly, I hate all religion, all organised religion. But it's like putting bacon on nostrils. It's just ridiculous. Don't do it. Pathetic. But should you go to prison for things like that? And, for daring to say, well, I don't like that faith. I don't like what it's about. Just nonsense. Why should we be treading on eggshells in our own bloody country? Answer, we shouldn't. And if your man Starmer got on top of immigration, both illegal and legal, maybe we'd trust him. He's finished. And there's a part of me, you might call me mad, but maybe you're mad, Gaunty, but maybe I'll be proved right in this. Rachel Reeves, right, the CV thief, she is definitely going to get the bullet. And I do wonder whether Starmer's done this whole thing this weekend about getting our troops over there, because he's going to do a reshuffle, because they're already briefing she's against upping the defence budget, because it'll ruin her sums. It's never bothered you before. You've just sort of erased things out and bullshitted your way through it, Rach. Can't you do that again? You see, that's the point. Why are we going into a scrap with Donald Trump? And in the blue corner, Donald Trump. What would be the red corner, wouldn't it? Donald Trump and the might of the USA. And in the blue corner, or is it the yellow corner? It's the EU, backed up by none of their people, because the whole of the European Union is turning against these bureaucrats. It'd hardly be a fight, would it? Huh? Why would you side with them? Why isn't he siding with Trump and saying, you know what? We have been taking the PISS. We've not been paying enough money. I'm going to go to Europe. I'm going to speak to all of my people in Paris and tell them we've got to up our defence spending. Ours is going to 2.6 or something, isn't it? But not for months. And there's a strategic defence review, but that doesn't start for a few months. And now you've got people like General Dannett, Lord West, ex-top military personnel saying, you can't start a war. We ain't got any soldiers. We haven't got any ships. My nephew's got more ships in his bloody bathtub than we've got. It's a joke. We had aircraft carriers without any planes on them. And Starmer wants to play Billy Big Boots, nearly said something else there, on the world stage. You're pathetic. He's like the cosplaying vicar, isn't he? Yeah, the next thing we'll see him. I can see it now. We're going to see a picture of Starmer in a jump jet, yeah, or in a tank. Yeah, do you remember that famous picture of Maggie Thatcher when she was, I think it was I don't remember where that one was, but she was in the military and she's on the top of a tank. John Major tried to do it and he looked pathetic. Talking of which, John Major, who's taking him seriously? We never took him seriously when he was the prime blooming minister. I would never trust a bloke who tucked his shirt into his underpants, yeah? Or was with Edwina Curry, and that's me being polite about that. I mean, the man is an idiot. But they're going, oh, John Major says this, and it's a different time when he was a statesman. Trump's not a statesman. Oh, right. All that statesman stuff's done really well, hasn't it? That's brought Russia to the table, yeah? All that, let's be polite and be like Joe Biden and fill our pants on stage. That's all worked, hasn't it? No. What's worked is Trump saying, no, we're not doing that. We're doing this, right? And the same in Israel, and the same now with tariffs, and the same now with manufacturers. Oh, no, I'm not doing that. I'm doing it like this. Like him or loathe him, he's getting people to the table. And that's why we won't lose the Chagos. Because there's no way. When Trump goes to see him next week, right, when he gets 2 minutes of the president's time, the president is going to wipe the floor with him. Although I'd get someone to wash it afterwards because it'd be dirty after having his face on it. Where are we now? Good news. My BAE shares are over 7% up today. Well, bully for you, Tommy Tinkler. Chicone, wake up, John. This is yet another ploy to introduce national service, but it won't be his kids. They're forced to put themselves in the front line. I don't know about that. I've got a lot of sympathy with national service. I think it would do some of our youth really good, but I don't believe this is what that's not what this is about. John, let's keep the British Army out. Let's keep Starmer out, and let's keep the Europeans out, and let Trump get on with it. He will sort it out, says Steve on YouTube. Mickey P, if Putin really wants to take back the empire, he could have taken the Ukraine easily. Yes, precisely. He drew a line and dug in to reinforce his point. Correct. His main goal is to prevent more NATO expansion. Absolutely correct. Well done, Mickey B. And that's what Trump's doing. Trump's playing that card back at him. Trump's saying, I ain't having this, because he's trying to make Europe pay. It isn't right. I was saying this to my brother-in-law. He was round today. It wasn't right that people in the American Midwest, right? I don't know, in the back end of nowhere, that they're paying to protect Europe, paying more than the Americans. That can't be right. To protect their own country. It can't be right. Or have I got that wrong? I would resent that. Wouldn't you? And our leaders in Europe have been taking the Michael. Oh dear. Agreed. The adults are now talking in Saudi Arabia whilst the kids are throwing hissy fits in Europe. Bang on the money. Bang on the money. And I thought they told us the adults were back in charge. If you're liking the video, can you please press the like button? If you're watching on YouTube, press the subscribe button. Then you'll never miss a show. It automatically sends you advice that I'm doing. I know I'm doing it at different times, and I was going to start doing them at 6:30 from tonight. But because I'm a friend and because I want to keep myself flexible, I'm having to be flexible this week. Bear with me. Richard Nash, how are you? I'm brilliant. Can't you tell? Will Easy well, Tommy, you know, I'm about to ban you because you're just an arse. And I don't want jokes about the Gaza Strip. I don't want them. I've heard you bragging about your chairs. Now shut up and go away. Mickey B, he's given the Chagos Islands to a country who never had rights over the island. Well, he's done that to Britain, hasn't he? And paying them $9 billion. Yet we can't pay the winter fuel allowance. Exactly correct, Mickey. That is what he is doing. Johnny Boy says Putin is denazifying Ukraine. Well, that's what I was saying earlier. Zelensky's not a saint. When normal people see something like that, they may shout or make remarks, but won't think of unliving the person burning the book. Yeah, well, he shouldn't have burnt the book. There's no point. Why do you want to wind people up like that? It's their religious book. Leave it alone. Wake up, John. Oh, you just said that. It's another ploy to introduce national service. Look, I know quite a bit about current affairs, mate. Don't try and be patronising. Okay, John, can you play that piano? Or is that just for show? Not a good look for the man of the people with $500,000 piano in the corner. I really hope you can play that, because at least then there would be a reason for having it. Can you spell thick dickhead, Declan? Huh? This is a green screen. I'm not in a big posh room with a grand piano. It's the magic of television. Do you understand? Clearly, you don't. I'm going to show you something now just to wind you up. Wait a minute. Where is it? There it is. Not that one. Which one is it? That's it. Right. Shall we change where we are? Let's go to Del Boy's pub. How about that? Let's have a Union flag behind me. How about that? Have I made my point yet? Here I am in the House of Commons. How about that? Oh, here I am in the White House. Declan, I await your apology. Oh, Declan, I'm in the TARDIS. I bet you feel a bit daft now, don't you? Anyway, sorry, mate, but don't try and make a pathetic point. You're wasting time. Talk about the subject. It's a green screen. Do you think that when they do the breakfast news, they're actually in front of that canal in Manchester? Do you? Do you? Standard of education. Stasmy thinks he's Churchill. We need to start putting money into our defence. It will take years for anything to materialise. Say JJ plays. You're right. Well, that's the whole argument. We should have said to Trump, how much do you want? And we should agree to do that. We'd have to cut certain vital things. We'd have to cut some vital things. Like how many people we're letting into the country and giving all the benefits to. We might have to move them into tents rather than 4-star hotels. That'd be a tragic cut, wouldn't it? Huh? Just ridiculous. Starmer's a national security risk if he keeps a line into the EU. He's risking our special relationship with the US. Big mistake, I agree. Cliff says you won't see Starmer in a jump jet because Blair got rid of all of them. Nice one, Mr. Dix. Where was the next bit? He said the Americans got them on the cheap to use as spare parts for their AV-8B Harrier fleet. I didn't know that, but thank you. I shall use that in the future. What's the next one? Trump will make two-tier Keir wait in the corridor like a naughty little schoolboy. That's a nice image. You know, when you used to go to get the cane, it was Mr. Grimes, where I went, Blue Coat in Coventry. He had a traffic light system. He had 3 lights, red, green and amber or whatever. And you had to sit outside his study. And I'm sure he was inside getting off on it. You know what I mean? That he was going to cane you. And then suddenly the lights would change. And then you'd go in and then that would be it. You boy. He was a coward, though, because he never, ever gave you a cane. It was an old boy called Fenton, who was the maths teacher. He used to smoke cigarettes like he was like a dog in one of those laboratories, you know, a beagle. Embassies, hundreds of embassies. He stank, and his office stank of fags as well. But he was a nice bloke, and he quite liked me. I always remember me and Chris Dickey, we had the cane. We were going to get 6 on our backside, right? I can't remember what the misdemeanor was. But we bent over, right? And Grimes was so pleased that I was getting the cane because I was always the one who stirred it and then sort of stood back. Anyway, but it got me this time. So Grimes said, Mr. Fenton, could you sort out these reprobates, please, right? I had to look up what it was in the dictionary that had shoved down my ass. But anyway, right? So Billy Fenton, I heard him. He gets the cane and he comes in, whack, one right on my jacks, right? And it hurt. I looked round to Chris and he got Chris on the arse as well. And then we both looked at each other and we had to bite our lips because all you could hear was Billy Fenton. He was out of breath. He was nearly dying. So the next 5 were like taps. on our backside. But we made a big fuss about it. And then we had to say, thank you for disciplining us, Mr. Fenton. And we left. And I'm sure in between his coughing fit and his heart attack in the corner, he actually slipped us a wink as well. Proper teacher. Lovely bloke. Obviously dead now, but there we are. So what's this? Oh, Declan Doherty wants to have a fight with me. Go on. So why put that in the background? That's better. Pom says John for PM. Declan's not letting go. Listen to this, everyone. Not as much as you look. Why pick that one then? Dell's pub was better. Declan, when I need tips on broadcasting from a no mark, I'll ask. Until then, be quiet because you're just making yourself look stupid. You thought it was real. You didn't understand how TV works. You wanted to try and put me down. You don't have to watch, right? I'm not employed by anyone. So I'm not going to get a telling off from some boss. There ain't a Mr. Fenton on 100 smokes ready to give me a cane afterwards. It's my own show. I stand and fall by my own talent and people buying me a coffee or sponsoring the show. If you don't like it, Declan, I don't care. Somebody said to me the other day, oh, yeah, that bloke you met in the pub. I said, oh, yeah. He said, he doesn't like you now. I said, well, I can't tell you who it is. I said, why? Oh, you called him a trendy liberal. I said, well, he was. And it was a compliment. It wasn't actually an insult. Anyway, this person told me he's now unfollowed you. I was like, oh, no, I'm mortally wounded. He's unfollowed me. The trendy liberal. What will I do? How will I live? It's just nonsense. I am so old. I'm so past all that, right? I don't care. In fact, if you don't like me, but you keep commenting, I'm still making money or making money, pennies, but I'm happy. Can't you see how happy I am? Happy. Declan. And not only that, why not put your real background in the back? Weirdo. Because it's to help you not get distracted. Is that where you wish you live? Well, not really, because my house was much bigger than this. I had a house that had a garden that was called Northamptonshire. But I'm down on my uppers, man. I'm on my uppers. Right? I lost everything. I was seriously ill and nearly died. And you know what, Declan? That makes me a bit more of a man than you'll ever be, mate, because you haven't got a clue. Oh, he's now saying, you hilarious. Spell HELLARIOUS. Get to Mr. Fenton's office, you moron. You moron. Zelensky is corrupt, says Carol Howard. You are completely right. You are completely right. I'm not saying he's as corrupt as Putin, but as I said at the beginning, he isn't an angel. Why can't people see that? And I'm going to finish today by talking about the MSM. They are in a tailspin after Vance's comments. Absolutely in a tailspin. Because he hit the nail on the head, didn't he? Absolutely. And their lies have been exposed. The whole political class have been exposed. And may it continue. Oh, and lovely. Tommy Tinkler is still there. This is he's on YouTube, this one. This is entertaining. A washed-up radio presenter self-destructed. Can you spell irony? Washed up. Is that what you think, Tommy? Why are you watching then? If you're washed up, what does it make you? If I'm washed up, what does it make you? That at 2:00 in the afternoon, you've decided to come and watch me. I tell you what, do you want me to make it easier for you, Tommy? So I'll just block you because I don't need your negativity in my life. I just don't need it. You know, you're like a mosquito on the back of an elephant's arse. Slightly irritating, but easily brushed away with the sway of their tail. Do elephants have tails? I think they do. Anyway, that's my point. So thank you, Tommy. You should go into politics, says Declan. I am in politics, Declan. Can't you see that? Anyway, look, I'm sorry. I've got distracted by these two morons, and I shouldn't do, really, because I'm much better than that. He's a Tommy Tanker, says Darren Commons. Yeah, he is. Tommy Tinkler's a Tommy Tanker, yeah. Anyway, right, that's it. Finished. I hope you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, that's fine. That's the whole nature of it. I know for some people it's a surprise that it's proper talk radio with proper opinions, that the host actually believes that no one's told him what to say and he doesn't give an SH1T whether you agree or not. I'm not in a popularity contest. I'm just having my say. I'm just having my say in my beautiful in front of my beautiful green screen. Anyway, I better go. Because I think there's a planet to be saved somewhere. So I think I better just nip off in the TARDIS and sort out the world. How about that? Yeah. I've got my transsexual assistant coming with me as well. Thanks very much for listening and watching. I'll be back tomorrow with another. That's not in very good focus, is it, the TARDIS? And it makes me really look white as hell. Great show, John, says Ryan Boyce. Cheers, Gaunty, says Laird. Carl says, good show. Good show, Gaunty. It's more than good. It was great. Declan Doherty, go back to your real place. Declan, I told you earlier, when I need tips on broadcasting from a moron, I'll ask. Until then, quiet. Otherwise, you'll get the dunce's cap. All right, back tomorrow, probably at the same time, but I'll decide overnight. If you've enjoyed the show, please spread the word. If you'd like to donate and help me, it's www.buymeacoffee.com. Listen on repeat again. The pod, it's also a podcast, so if you want to go dog walking with it, you can, or you can, do whatever you want. Do whatever you want with it. I think it's the future of broadcasting. Yeah. Have I invented that as well? Stop it. I've cheered myself up a bit, actually, because I've been very worried about my friend. And thanks for all the likes and the hearts that you're giving me as well. That's all good stuff as well. All right. Until tomorrow, then, if you've got kids, give them a kiss, give them a hug. Hey. Don't forget to tell them you love them. And I finish this by saying, Starmer, out.